football with a soccer perspective. This is Soccer Today with Duane, Rollins and Kevin Laramée, live on the Sports Podcasting Network.
Good day, good night. Welcome to Soccer Today for Thursday, July 30th, 2020. I'm Kevin Laramée, joined by Duane Rollins as always. And Duane, we were on a good run. It was a good run. It was 4 years since we've talked about corruption in FIFA, since Sepp Blatter being arrested and charged with corruption and all that great stuff that happened. And for sure, we thought we got rid of it. Right. And then we woke up this morning to the news of criminal proceedings have been started against FIFA President, actual FIFA President right now, Gianni Infantino, regarding a meeting that was covered up. We'll get to it, but first, Duane, how are you today?
I'm well. Look, I mean, when it comes to corruption at governing bodies, it's not something that we should be surprised upon. This, as I was telling you off air, seems like, I hate to say lesser, because you don't want to ever dismiss sort of the needs of these bodies to act as if they're part of the law, not above the law. And this, to me, strikes me as them just thinking they are above the law and just doing stuff willy-nilly that it may not turn out to be much, honestly, in the end. Of terms, it's not like envelopes being passed under the table, but still, I mean, disclose what you're doing and do things above the, in a legal way, and no one's going to get in these troubles. Yes, Kevin, it's been 4 years. No one's called me from Indian TV today, which is like how crazy the last one was. They were running out of experts to talk about, so I was on, Mumbai Bobby TV. So yeah,
I remember the images of you in your makeshift TV studio. Like, sure, I'll come in. All right, give me my scarf. Let me build something on my wall. Anyways, those were the days, but those Sub-Blatter days. But now let's just talk about the facts for a second, and I will read some of what's been reporting across multiple outlets. You can find it pretty much any outlet now is reporting this. This one is from The Independent. This one's from the Great Britain. Here we go. The title is Swiss Special Prosecutor Launches Criminal Proceedings Against FIFA President. Authorities investigating an alleged covered up meeting between the FIFA President and the Swiss Attorney General Michael Lauber has requested criminal proceedings be brought against Infantino. So, a Swiss special prosecutor has commenced criminal proceedings against FIFA President Gianni Infantino due to alleged criminal conduct. Special prosecutor Stefan Keller, who was appointed as extraordinary prosecutor to review complaints against Infantino and the Swiss Attorney General Michael Laubner, said he had found indications of possible criminal conduct related to undisclosed meetings, the authority overseeing Switzerland federal prosecutors said on Thursday. So, Duane, we're talking about meetings that have been covered up, and meetings basically that have been scrubbed from the agendas, conversations that have been trying to not necessarily been talked about, and meetings maybe made to have seemed like they haven't happened, is what is alleged on Gianni Infantino and the Swiss Attorney General, Michael Laubner.
Yeah, I mean, while the last investigations were going on, there was a meeting that took place between the Attorney General of Switzerland and the President of FIFA. And they didn't disclose this meeting, and that makes it look like that they were trying to come to a deal behind closed doors, behind the scrutiny of the public interests. And the fact they didn't disclose this makes it suspicious, and essentially the special prosecutor has determined there's enough there to investigate it. We should, as the press release indicates, there's a presumption of innocence in all of these cases, so we don't know whether anything unbetold happened during those meetings. We do know that those meetings took place, and that there's enough there and enough proof of that to investigate this. From a FIFA optics perspective, which I think is the important thing here, it doesn't add confidence that the organization has gotten itself together yet. We talk, in our main shows, Kevin, we talk about FIFA and we talk about the IOC a lot, and they're similar in a lot of ways. I have more confidence in the IOC right now than I do in FIFA, and I always will. I think that has to do with the money in FIFA is a little bit more, and wherever there's money, there's going to be the potential for corruption. Did they try to do a secret deal here? I don't know. Is there anything more than just a meeting that should have been disclosed that didn't take place? I don't know. Will this take down Infantino? I don't know. I don't think it will, to be honest.
Yeah. It took a lot.
The grand scheme.
When you think about it, it took a lot to take Bladder down, right? It took years and years of not only investigation, but a proof that was undeniable. Because the one thing about money is you can't afford good lawyers, so the proof has to be concrete.
Well, what took Bladder down? What took FIFA down the last time? Jared Warner essentially took Bladder down. If you look at how the dominoes fell, and it was really. They got sloppy and they got brazen about how they were doing things. And in particular, they didn't pay their taxes in the United States properly. And it's often how you get these things go down because the FBI got involved and
IRS, the damn IRS. You could be a criminal. You could be selling illicit substances and you still have to pay your taxes. And you could pay your taxes and you might never be caught selling illicit substances, but if you don't pay your taxes, the IRS might find you before the FBI does.
Yeah, that's why there's a lot of little restaurants in certain parts of the world that never have anyone other than 3 people sitting around playing cards at them. And if you go in and try and order some French fries, they'll look at you like you have a hole in the head. I remember years ago, Kevin, walking into a restaurant in Toronto, and there was a group of people playing poker in the back, and I just wanted a beer and like something to eat, and like when I walked in, every head turned and looked at me.
You're like,
and I went, yeah, I was just looking for like lunch, and then this one woman came out and kind of went and shrugged her shoulders and threw a menu at me and said, "Sure, we don't have much." And they made me surprised, and I had one very uncomfortable beer as these poker playing men. Now, I'm not saying that they were the organized crime, but I'm not saying they weren't either, but at any rate, that was years ago now.
You cannot confirm nor deny the story, neither can these gentlemen. And that woman bartender, it must be uncomfortable when you're trying to drink a beer, eat some fries, and you have a lot of people just staring at you. I guess that's how you do feel also as president of FIFA. Whatever you do is going to be scrutinized for good and for bad. And if transparency is not if transparency is not 100%, if there's some part of opacity and it's not transparent, this is going to happen. And this is where it comes, I think this is where it becomes really important, and we'll see how far it goes. Is it a breach of trust? One thing we have heard Gianni Infantino say from the beginning he has been president since 2016 is how he will make sure that FIFA is more transparent. You're not necessarily being transparent when you cover up meetings. And I think that's literally the definition of not being transparent, trying to cover things up. And that's where it's dangerous. It's a slippery slope because now people can think, if they tried to cover up anything, they tried to cover up. Should we look deeper into things? Is there anything else that we should look into now? Maybe we had a little blind trust in Infantino just because he wasn't the guy that was there before. Should we look into more things now? I think that's where it becomes a slippery slope, is that even though it might not be the case, but the public's opinion of a breach of trust can be dangerous for the future.
Yeah, the thing that I think it's important to remember, if you go back to Infantino being elected FIFA president, he was the moderate candidate, we'll say. He was the candidate that, and when I say moderate, I'm not necessarily talking about philosophies or even where he fell on a spectrum, but more that he was the person that kind of bridged the desire for change, the change candidates and the old school candidates. He has feet in both worlds, and that allowed him to sort of present himself as a reformer while at the same time still maintaining a lot of connections to the old way things were done. And just, FIFA is not an organization. Most organizations that are made up of old white men, let's be blunt, don't change quickly until they're forced into change. And that FIFA scandal back 4 or 5 years ago did force them into some changes, but they were reluctant to completely give them all up. And, we've gone into detail in the past with why that is, how, there are certain parts of the world where graft is how things get done. And without graft, the system kind of grinds to a halt. And as much as it's terrible that you have to grease everyone's hands to get something done, if you don't grease anyone's hands, nothing gets done. And so you don't get your stadiums built, you don't get women's programs started, you don't get things happening. And it shouldn't be required to have these sort of ways be the need, but it is. So having a mid-ground candidate was seen by some pragmatists as being ideal, because it would allow the system to still work while change was hopefully happening. And the argument here, when this charge comes in against him, you would hope that they will cooperate, and that if this is just a meeting that took place that just shouldn't have taken place, but nothing really bad happened in it, which is possible, I'll be open-minded to that, then they need to disclose it. They need to be open if he wants to continue that leadership, because if he's seen as being a guy that's just stuck to the old ways, then there's no reformer aspect to it anymore, and there's no confidence that this will get done. The biggest problem with FIFA, Kevin, though, is that in some ways it doesn't matter. The NFC has to be squeaker clean, because a lot of their sports, a lot of their needs are tied around convincing people that what they do is important. You don't need to convince people that football matters, right? And that's the problem.
Yeah, like regardless if you agree with FIFA does, they'll still get their stipends from all the federations across the world. So they're still gonna get what they kind of looking for, regardless if you agree. And we're still gonna watch. That's true. Yeah. That's true. And of course, we'll keep an eye on the situation, because if you don't know, on top of being president of CONCACAF, Victor Montigliani is vice president of FIFA. So if anything were to happen to Infantino, if we wake up in the next few weeks and there has been a police, I would say, how would you call that? A raid? Yeah, police raid into the offices of FIFA or into Switzerland hotels, like we have seen in the past with Blatter and company, with Platini. If we wake up in the morning and we see Infantino in that situation, well, guess what? Canadian Victor Montigliani might be president of FIFA.
Yeah, well, he's a vice president of FIFA, so there are others.
Yes, you're right.
In the same level, but as a federation president, he would. And look, Victor, I've always said that I do not put it above Victor at all to take a run at the FIFA presidency one day. I mean, he's a very ambitious person that went from Canadian. Like, if you go from the CSA presidency to the CONCACAF presidency as quickly as he did, I mean, let's not be silly. He's going to host a World Cup too. Well, obviously the U.S. can do a lot of the heavy lifting, but he's still going to be front and center as the CONCACAF president and former president of the Canadian Soccer Association. He is a political animal, and he may want that. And there may even be desire within FIFA to elect a Canadian, because we're viewed as a neutral party in the world.
Exactly. Which better way?
I don't want to overstate that.
No, exactly. But you're right. By some of which better way to go ahead from maybe one of the most corrupt presidents. He was arrested and charged, and amazing big fine levied against him. So we could say one of the most corrupt president of an organization in the world, Sepp Blatter, he was. You go to Gianni Infantino, which before today, I'm not saying there was always clean. Like, we've heard rumors in the past that there was allegations, but never anything substantial enough to be in court. As of now, yes, this thing has criminal proceedings is being launched against him. So we're not saying there's no smoke to the fire, but it's the first big breach of trust of Gianni Infantino. There's none so far in Victor Montigliani's past, and we have seen him evolve and grow into the executive that he is now in football by piggybacking good decisions and growth of organizations and working and turning around programs like the Canadian Soccer Association from 6-7 years ago, all the way to CONCACAF now, and reforms that have been taking place in CONCACAF. He has a track record of reform, so I wouldn't be surprised if, like you say, we see a Victor Montigliani be elected president of FIFA one day because of his track records of quote-unquote successful reforms in executive and board of trustees of soccer confederations, here as an example.
Yeah, if you can get the political base to do it, for sure. Quickly, before we move away, I always like to occasionally tell my anecdote of the one and only time that I met Sepp Blatter. It was in 2014 when he came for a pre-visit tour. Early spring 2014, he was coming to preview the 2015 Women's World Cup at Toronto Weston Harbor Hotel. I was part of a press conference, had a chance to ask him a question or two. I saw Sonia Mizio made him dance. Those that follow me, if you know Sonia, she's kind of brave that way. So she was calling him to task for a lack of women's structures. This was still in the light of the short pants stuff at that point. At any rate, when we're leaving that meeting, Kevin, I will never forget the image of the most powerful sports executive in the world standing at the bottom of an escalator, waiting patiently as a young boy kept trying to go down and up escalator and was holding the entire FIFA delegation up for about 3 minutes as this kid played on the escalator.
That's funny. Like the guy is making one of maybe one of the top 20 most powerful men in the world, like money-wise and influence-wise, making him wait. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, can we research and find that kid today and tell him that story? And he'd be like, what? What did I do? That's awesome. Oh, man, that could be a great show documentary. The day the FIFA board of executives stood still while a kid played in an escalator. Sounds like a good short film to me.
There you go. Yeah, no, it was a funny image. And if you've never had the opportunity to be in the same room as the man, he is the tiniest man I've ever seen in my life. He's like a little elf. He's like, I'm not a tall man. I'm not a tall man. And he highlights to my chest. It's crazy.
Wow. Some say maybe there was an overcompensation there somewhere. But, some would say that. I don't know if I'm one of them. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, yes, MLS will be back for us tonight. The quarterfinal starts. We'll give our predictions. And before we do so, when we come back from the break, we'll also give an update on Jonathan David. What's going to happen? Is it going to be Lille? Is it going to be Leeds? Is it going to be another club that starts with L? Maybe. We'll know after the break.
You are listening to Soccer Today. Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTodaySPN and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Sports Podcasting Network. You can find the podcast version of all the shows we do on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play Store, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you get your podcast.
And we're back on Soccer Today. Kevin Laramée with Duane Rollins. As always, Duane, it's fun to be back talking about MLS Is Back. Quarterfinals will start tonight. We have Philadelphia versus Kansas City. That will be a good matchup before we talk about the tournament. Let's look at Jonathan David. A few weeks ago, Lille made a big splash in the news and the headlines in the transfer market world, saying, yeah, we're going after the Canadian. We put in an offer, and apparently it's now the only club that starts with L in a European league that is after Jonathan David. As of right now, we're hearing rumblings that newly promoted Leeds in the Premier League from the Championship, now playing in the Premier League, the club of Marcelo Bielsa, Hell Loco himself, is after Jonathan David also.
Yeah, specifically what happened is that Jonathan David and his representatives came to a personal services agreement with Lille, but that, if you ever played Football Manager, you know that there's two sides to a transfer, or just watched it, but I like the Football Manager analogy. Like, it's one thing to get the club to say yes. If the player says no, you can't do it. And opposite works as well. You can have a contract worked out, but if the club won't accept the offer, then it's not going to happen. So right now, Lille's offer to Genk is not thought to be, well, the club is rejecting it. Genk. The club is rejecting it. There's Leeds, as you said, has come in with a much better offer that we don't know whether the David camp is interested in that. We haven't heard anything to do in terms of the personal contract on that side. But when it comes to Lille, are they still in it? Yeah. What we're hearing is perhaps they've countered that offer. They're offering a little bit more money. It's just really a money thing at this point.
Well, yeah. At this point, isn't it always just a money thing? Isn't it the world we live in?
It is possible that he may end up back in Belgium for a year. his club in Belgium, Ghent, is very much a selling club. They rely on these transfers to make things work, to make things last, and it is something that they're not gonna shortchange themselves. They have a once in a 10-year kind of opportunity here in terms of the money that is out there for him. Now, unfortunately, the pandemic has made a bit of a strain on everything, and that is perhaps what's holding this up. I think if we are in normal times, that he is already gone to whoever has bid. Unfortunately, I think if you want to get this back to a Canadian perspective, it does appear that the Bundesliga teams have dropped off of this, probably because they're holding tight to the valuation that they put on him. I think at this point in time, if they're going to hold to that $20+ million euro number, I should say, there's the likelihood that Leeds might be the one, because the Premier League money is such that they can afford those transfers even in a year like this. And look, I'm not sure what to think of that. I would rather him be in a more development-centric focus, because he is still very young. Lille is a club that would sell him on again. I think there's a danger that he could get caught in that sort of never-ending sort of nothingness that is the middle of the English league, where you're just kind of stuck there and you're not going anywhere better. I prefer the Bundesliga for those reasons, but nonetheless, it's good that he is still valued so much, and there are suitors for him. I hope he gets to move somewhere else. It's going to have to happen in the next 3 or 4 weeks, I would think, if he's going to play next year. If he plays another half season in Belgium, I suppose it's not the worst thing in the world, but there comes a point when his age stops becoming an advantage and starts becoming a disadvantage, and it happens quicker than you think.
Yeah, it does. It does happen quicker than we think, but I still think there's a good chance that we will see it happen. If it's not with Lille, it might be with Leeds, and we'll see. You're right. I think with the Bundesliga teams, rarely do we see a Bundesliga team outside of Bayern Munich and maybe Borussia Dortmund going with a price that goes up, right, with the speculative market. Usually they go and get players that are younger or cheaper, and they mold them into becoming a Erling Haaland, and then they sell it to players, to teams like the Bundesliga, like Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. So yeah, you're right. But we'll see where Jonathan David ends up. It is, for me, an opportunity for him to show what he can do in a little higher league if he goes to France. And it is also a very big gamble if he goes to England, because we've seen North American goal scorers. I don't want to name just Josie Altidore, but that's one case where went amazingly in the Eredivisie. One of the best players we've seen from North America to go play in the Eredivisie, but then went to go to Sunderland, which is not necessarily the best case scenario for the service and for your teammates playing with you. We saw the goal scoring go down, and we saw it being more difficult. So that there is a risk associated with Jonathan David, maybe, or with Ghent, not necessarily him, but with the club accepting maybe from Genk an opportunity to go to Leeds instead of Lille. That's the gamble here. If it Leeds, it might be difficult, and it's not going to be as easy as Lille. But even Lille, let's not forget, Lille, it's not like they're battling for the title in Ligue 1 either. It's not. They're not PSG. They're not Marseille. Heck, they're not Saint-Etienne. So you're not going into the best of situation in Lille either.
Yeah, I think it's prefer the league in terms of development. It is a step up from Belgium. Now, the biggest thing I would see with Leeds is that, there is a reputation when the English Premier League is a little more physical than the other big leagues in Europe, and I think that reputation is well earned. Is Jonathan David able to adjust to that and to play that physical style? Now, Belgium is also a league that is thought to be physical. We have seen players, let's give concrete examples closer to home. We've seen players transition. Samal, when he went to Montreal, Pozuelo, obviously, when he went to Toronto, have done pretty well in MLS. Now, it's a different type of step, but when you're talking about the physicality aspect to it, they have adjusted pretty easily to that. So maybe it's not as big of a step up as we think in terms of the physical nature of the leagues. But this is it seems like a forever saga. It's not. just we're not used to it, okay, in standards of watching a guy get played out by not even the biggest clubs in the world here. Just the Alphonso Davies got swept up pretty quickly, and there wasn't a full feeding frenzy for Davies yet. This is the closest thing we've seen to a feeding frenzy for a Canadian player in a long, long time. So it'll get resolved, and he'll find himself at a higher league sooner rather than later.
Yes, and yes, he will. And now, for the rest of the show, it's time. I've been polishing my crystal ball since yesterday, Duane, with microfiber and a lot of breath and, trying to keep it clean, keep it nice just for this moment so I can look into the future and predict the quarterfinals. Predict MLS is back. We've got 8 teams going down to 4 teams, and I'm looking forward to when 2 teams will go down to 1 team, and we can move on with the rest of our lives in the soccer world. But MLS is back tonight. Philadelphia, Sporting Kansas City. Duane, who do you got?
Kevin, normally we pull out the crystal ball. I actually have in my hands 2 marbles. One is marked home and one is marked road. So for the purpose of this, the first team that you list in that lineup is going to be your home team. So I'm going to let the marbles select my picks here, okay? And we're going to compare them to your well-researched ones and see whether they're any better, okay? You ready? So this is what we're doing. For this first game, what were they again? It was Philadelphia's home team.
Do you have sound effect for the marble or something? No? Okay. I wish I knew. I would have put one.
Can you hear that? There you go.
Here.
All right, so I am picking the home team, so Philadelphia is going to win.
All right. Duane's got Philadelphia. I got Sporting Kansas. No, I got Philly too. Philly looked good too. And I kind of have to agree with you. I like what they've been doing. I think Philly going forward with Ilsinho and with their ever-evolving defense. And, I love the fact that they keep evolving. And, when you have value in one player, like example, Keegan Rosenberry a couple of years ago, you find ways to move him on and reinvest at that time. And the window is now for Philly. So I go with Philly also. Okay, I got your marbles here. So, all right, your marbles are running. NYCFC or Portland. Which marble will win for you, Duane?
Hold on here. It is going to be home again.
NYCFC, after struggling in the knockout stage, in the group stage, and after struggling this season so far under Ronnie Dela, they will go into the knockout stage and qualify for the semifinal, according to Duane. And I predict Portland. I think we're going to see Portland continue to evolve, not over-relying on a Diego Valeri, but maybe get some good performance as a whole. And for some reason, I see a Bobby Say scoring an important one. And for me, Portland will move on, and we will have a Philly-Portland semifinal on that side of the bracket. Now let's continue, and let's look at the other side of the bracket. I'm going to start with San Jose, Minnesota, and I think we both will understand why very soon. San Jose, Minnesota, I'll start, Duane. That's a fascinating matchup. To me, Minnesota shouldn't be here, but they're there. They made it there. It was penalties, but they made it there. San Jose, to me, really deserves to be there, and I kind of hope San Jose can pull through in that matchup, and that's my prediction. Matias Almeida sacrificed his hair this year. He's deserving of a trophy because of that. El Profesor shaved his head. He needs a cup.
And he's got great hair, too, especially for, when you factor in the man's age. To have that hair, I don't know why I wouldn't be cutting it. I haven't had hair since I was 23, though. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I've already done
maybe biased there, yeah.
And even though San Jose is who I've been picking dark horse throughout, my marbles said Minnesota, so I gotta stick with the marbles. Minnesota it is.
That would be the very MLS thing to happen too, where Columbus, we were expecting Columbus to win, Minnesota beats them. Oh, it doesn't matter. San Jose, we expect San Jose. It's the new favorite. They're gonna Minnesota's gonna eliminate them. Maybe I'm choosing San Jose. Okay, now the matchup we've all been waiting for. Maybe the 2 teams that look the best since the beginning of this tournament. Okay, maybe not against Montreal, but Orlando looked good in the group stage. 2 wins, a draw against Philly. Orlando LAFC. LAFC is the best team in this tournament. LAFC, Duane, is, of course, the big favorite to win it all right now. Do we really give Orlando a chance here?
My marbles say that the home team is winning this game. Do I personally? Yeah, I think LAFC's going to win the tournament, but I believe list them again. Well, what order are they listed in?
Well, Orlando is first in that one, so that's why
then the marbles picked Orlando. So here you got to go with the marbles. But
I'm thinking you're losing your marbles right now, because if you think Orlando's gonna win against LAFC, you're gonna lose your marbles. Yeah, you're losing your marbles. All right, I predict obviously LAFC to win in this quarterfinals, and that will be our predictions for the quarterfinals. We'll reconvene and look at the semifinals to get the rest of our predictions. So for me, it was Philly. Duane agreed. Duane predicted NYCFC. I said Portland. Duane said Orlando. I said Duane's crazy, and I picked LAFC. And we've got San Jose and Minnesota. And I predict San Jose. Duane predicts Minnesota in that one for some reason. I guess the away team was the right one there. Duane, how much Yeli's Marble Run have you been watching during this pandemic that inspired you for this segment?
Not a ton, but what I did do is I was involved in a pool with some Toronto FC fans where we predicted the first round of MLS Is Back, and I put 2 entries in. It was a $10 fee to enter, so I put $10 in and picked it with my own, intellect and experience and my hourly, daily 16 hours a day studying of MLS. And then I did one where I just drew marbles, and the marbles one beat my other one. So I just decided if the marbles are going to be picking better, I might as well just go with the marbles in this case.
Yeah, maybe.
So there you go.
And soon the game will be for all the marbles, at least until we know what happens in Major League Soccer for the rest of the season. On that note, make sure you go to our network feed and to our network, the website, sportspodcastnetwork.com. Great shows that have come lately. We even have the raw audio of the press conference of Canadian Premier League Commissioner David Clonican when they announced the beginning of the season, the entire season of the